Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, hello, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the 24/7 Reds show. My name is Jody Alexander. I'm your host once again on this beautiful, productive evening. We are joined by watch our technical guy having difficulties. Jono, our Tennessee Red Chase, Paul White, our resident Irish Red. We are joined by Sheikh Jassim, all the way from Qatar. Neil, and obviously Masood from South Africa. So welcome everyone to the show. Obviously, everyone's seen the show highlights what we're about today. It's just a quick thing. We're going to quickly do a post-match analysis. You may have seen the videos on Twitter. Please like and subscribe. And just all for Chase's videos. He needs all the encouragement he can get. So let's just try to keep it up for him, please. And also, we're going to hand you over to the amazing Paul White, who's going to run through the Takeover rumors that came out the last 24 to 48 hours with obviously Sheikh and Neil and Chase and Masood. So on to further ado, I want to go back into the game yesterday. And the first person I want to go to is Chase. Regarding yesterday's game, I know you had your predictions and how did it plan out. What did you think and how did you enjoy it?
I thought it was a great match, great way to get everybody involved. Obviously, my prediction, was 2-1 Garnacho getting both. He got one. He looked wonderful on the ball, off the ball, tracking back, doing everything he needed to do. It was great to see. Hannibal was outstanding. Casemiro, man of the match. I thought Amrabat was just lights out, just the balls he was servicing, what he was doing, coming inverted, helping out Casemiro. I thought Harry Maguire did decently well. Overall, I just thought it was great to see the kids. I thought it was great to see Dan Gore get a run out. Great to see Donny get a little bit of game time to see what he could do if he can come back into the fold.
What was the highlight for you so far from that game? What was your standout moment or standout player?
My standout had to be Hannibal again. I mean, just the energy he brings, you could just see he's lifting his game up. His game is just, you can see the levels he's getting to, and he looks like he's going to reach it.
It really does. I want to bring Neil in. Neil, what were your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Thoughts on the game yesterday. Very, very exciting piece of football as well, and it was interesting to see the likes of Amrabat fill in a position where we have a crisis at the moment. I think it was vital that he played that role, and he played it extremely well considering that was his debut as well, and he played the inverted role perfectly. It provided a lot of support to the likes of Casemiro in the midfield, and you saw how support for the midfield can make the whole team thrive, and having the options, having the outpass, we pretty much dominated from start to finish. We controlled the game well, we managed it well, very, very exciting performance as well, and we got to see 3 goals. And when was the last time we saw that this season? So
it's true, actually, very, very true. Who was your standout player or moment?
Standout player, definitely for me personally. I think I would have to go with Hannibal for sure. I was really impressed. Really, really impressed.
I think everyone wasn't they?
Yeah. He was just like, it felt like he'd been there for years and he'd done it before. He was so comfortable on the ball, composed, picked his passes well. He just knows how to read a game as well, and his pressing. Oh my gosh. I think there was some sort of stat, correct me if I'm wrong, where he's had the most presses in the Premier League so far.
Yeah, he has.
That for his age, that's just absolutely insane. And hopefully, we get to see more of him from Ten Hag.
Okay, I want to go to obviously Sheikh, see what your thoughts are. John, I'm going to bring you in last as you are technically the technical director of this entire setup. So we're going to bring you last in on that. Sheikh, what was your thoughts on the game? What did you like? What was your highlights? Player that you thought was brilliant. What did you like?
It was good to see, for me, the youngsters get a run out last night. A good bit of rotation. There was a lot of hunger shown on the pitch, which was fantastic to see. Like Chase mentioned a minute ago, a lot of tracking back. It was great to see. A lot of energy on the pitch, fast movement, great passing, good flow of football. It was really entertaining to watch. I can't tell you the last time I watched a Manchester United game and had that feeling. I'll tell you, it's been a little while. My standout player, there was quite a few for me, I have to say. Casemiro. It was nice to see Mount getting an assist as well from a corner. We haven't had
a while since we scored from a corner, wasn't it?
Yeah, let alone a set piece, right? So it was nice to see that. Casemiro with a goal and assist, but I think for me, Amrabat, that guy, when he was playing left back in that first half, you look at his heat map. My God, that guy was all over the pitch and predominantly playing it looked like on the heat map as a left winger. He was everywhere. It was great. It was great to see him finally get some proper minutes rather than the cameo. And I have to agree with the other guys. Hannibal, yeah, he was fantastic yesterday as well.
Brilliant. I'm going to bring in Masood and then Paul and then obviously Jono. Welcome, Masood, all the way from South Africa. I know you've got a power cut out right now, so it's really difficult right now with what's going on over in South Africa. What did you make of the game yesterday?
Jody, I was actually quite excited. I mean, it's the first time in a long time that you enjoyed watching a United game without being
stressed. Dude, you can tell by your voice you're still excited.
I was, and before the game with the predictions and stuff, you could see that I wanted the youngsters to get a chance. I mean, and it's the first time in a long time that I enjoyed a Man United performance where, okay, we didn't play the best Crystal Palace team yesterday. Well, we didn't give them a chance to play well as well. So, I mean, you can say the old adage, you play what's in front of you, which we did. And I was quite impressed with, for people who didn't play a lot of minutes, like Mount and Varane, Amrabat, they did a lot. And to see like Hannibal all over the pitch. I mean, even Martial, I was quite pleasantly surprised with his performance yesterday.
He really led the line well, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And so for me, like, there's obviously the obvious standout players. Casemiro, for me, Mount also played well. I mean, the obvious is Hannibal. But for me, what I enjoyed the most was seeing a 19-year-old, a kid that turned 19 yesterday, coming on and looking like he's been in midfield for decades in Dango. I mean, I was blown away with the way he looked so composed, so mature for his age. I was gobsmacked at how good he was.
I have to agree. I thought he came on. He had a very, very mature game. He did the basics well. He didn't try to overdo it. I mean, I've seen him play at the under 18s, so we kind of know his level at the under 18s and the under 16s. But what I was very impressed with him about what he did when he came on was he did the basics well. He just gave it, moved, and you could tell he was a little bit nervous.
At first he was, but they also had that opportunity. I don't know if you noticed the one way he almost got a through ball. I'm not sure if it was to Martial or
it was actually that's a through ball to Martial. Yeah.
Which if that came off, it would have been quite Scholes-esque in terms of a through ball.
It was a nice ball. It was a great attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of progression we're seeing with these youngsters. Obviously, training with the first team, and they're starting to come through now. What was your standout player? You said Dango for you yesterday, or who did you?
Amrabat, head and shoulders. I mean, I don't know if you watched the alternate MUFC alternate commentary. So I mean that chant is going to stuck in my head since this morning. Where he's here, he's there, he's everywhere. He's bald, he has no hair, and they call it Amrabat. So that's been stuck in my head since this morning. So, but he's just going to look like he's going to basically unlock Casemiro in terms of being someone who can fill in for him, and Casemiro can play a more advanced role if need be.
I would have to agree. I'm going to bring Paul in now to find out what Paul's thoughts on the game was and see what he liked or what he didn't like, where he thought who was standout and moments for him. Paul, go ahead.
My mic first. To be fair, I was working, so I only caught the highlights from a lot of the game. But I think the thing I take away from that game is Amrabat playing at left back shows what an inverted left back can do the way Ten Hag wants them to play. They're not just out in the wing, they're not just overlapping or underlapping the forward line, they're supporting in the midfield. So,
well, to be fair, when we were talking on Spaces yesterday, actually, you called Amrabat in the fullback's position. You and I had it based. You had him at left, and I had him at right, and we both said they were going to play with the two fullbacks so high up and inverted that it would cause a problem. We saw Dalot almost playing as if he was a striker, literally, and Amrabat, literally, there wasn't a blade of grass he didn't cover to a certain extent. Is there any what, based upon the highlights you saw, what stood out for you?
Amrabat stood out. It changes your whole build-up play. Gives you another body to progress the ball, to get away from the press. To be fair, Crystal Palace didn't really press us that much in the forward line, in the midfield, and even in defence, they didn't really do much either. Up until the time, judging by the highlights, once we started doing the changes, once Amrabat came off and stuff like that, Mount, from the highlights I've seen of him for 45 minutes back, looked quite sharp as well. First time passing on the ball, seemed to be one of our only midfielders that was doing it. He was passing, moving straight away, doing the runs forward. So that's a good sign, him coming back as well. But as I say, I watched the highlights, so it's hard to judge a match with only watching the highlights. But goals were taken good. Nice to see Martial getting an instinctive goal as well.
Was a beautiful finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, the outside of the foot. Really nice finish. A couple of the balls as well from Amrabat to Dalot on that right-hand side were just...
Mount had a few as well. Amrabat,
yeah.
Casemiro played some absolute worldies. I watched the stats, and it's the first time our centre-back pairing has completed over 80% of long balls played.
It is an advantage that you have to say, the fact that the centre-backs were under not one bit of pressure when they're playing out from the back, because of the overload from Dalot pushing out wide and then Amrabat sitting in between the two centre-backs and the centre-backs then splitting off to the wings. You have no way to press that back line.
No.
That was the thing. Our game prohibited Crystal Palace, with the personnel they had on, from pressing the back line and pressing in the midfield areas, and that's why we looked so comfortable on the ball, because we set up in a way that prevented you having a pressing structure against our build-up play.
Yeah, I mean, there was one point, we're talking about the press right now. There was one point where Lindelof came in at left back, and it was Onana, Maguire, and Lindelof playing amongst themselves, and they're trying to press. Crystal Palace are trying to press, and Harry Maguire hits a ball from the left side of the bum of the 18-yard box, straight across over the top to the right side, and Dallow's free and bursting into 20 yards of space. They did not seem to have an answer for the overload on the press. So no. I think
Maguire's distribution's never been an issue. Maguire is great when he's distribution and he's not under pressure. The problem with Maguire playing at centre back comes for you when you have a team that presses in at Maguire. Maguire has the turning circle of a truck, and that's nothing against him. That's his physique. He's a big centre back. He's a big, tall, robust centre back. It's why he wins most of the balls in the air when he's defending. He's got great aerial presence. But when you're under a press situation, he can let you down against a proper pressing team.
I have to agree with you on that point. Maguire, if you looked at him a year ago, you have to say he looked like a 100-ton truck trying to turn. You know, the big ones on the quarries. And what I have noticed, he slimmed down a little bit. And maybe it's because you've got a manager saying, hang on, I don't need you to have muscle. I need you to have presence. And I've got notes. He has slimmed down a little bit. But one thing I will say, having a goalkeeper present that he could play back to and play the way he's facing does help. And having a midfielder who can receive the ball, and I mean no disrespect to Christian Eriksen when I say this, Christian Eriksen cannot play on the half turn, whereas Amrabat and Casemiro seem to absorb it, really, don't they?
Yeah. Amrabat as well just brings a little bit so that he can pick the ball up, progress the ball into midfield, even from an inverted left back position. So depends how bad Reguilon is, but I see Amrabat going again at the weekend into the team.
Yeah. I'm going to bring Jono in because I wanted to get his thoughts on the game yesterday and see what he felt. And there was a massive talking point, and it brings us to a very horrible talking point come this game. And I want to get everyone's thoughts on that in a second. So without further ado, I want to welcome Jono. Jono, what was your thoughts on the game yesterday?
What a performance! I was at work, so I caught the game back when I got home, and I was going to do a match prediction, but I didn't have enough time. But I thought it was going to be roughly about 3-0, so it's roughly what I thought was going to happen. But what a midfield we have now. If you compare to what 18 months ago, McFred under Ollie, to our midfield now and the depth we have, it's night and day. And I think Amrabat and Casemiro is going to be amazing together.
Yeah,
Hannibal, what a player! Hannibal, what a player! Just midfield depth is mad, and great for Martial to get that goal as well. Hopefully that builds his confidence. Harry Maguire, steady game. Hopefully that can build his confidence. If he's going to stay, hopefully they can build up his confidence if he is going to stay in January, or hopefully maybe put him in the shop window if it is time for him to move on. So I think win-win. I was really happy with the result. But again, another great game by Garnacho as well. He's really coming into it. I think there's definitely an argument for maybe him and Rashford fighting for that left position now, definitely. But yeah, I'm really happy. Oh, another two clean sheets for Onana now as well, which is great.
I wanted to bring everyone in, obviously, on this one, because there was a couple of talking points from yesterday's game. So please, everyone, come in on this one. There was a ball that Garnacho picked up. He laid into Mason Mount. Obviously, Mount laid it off to Pellistri. Now, obviously, Sky Sports, with their biased, it's a great tackle, superb defending. But when you've watched it carefully, even 3 or 4 times, he go at Richards again, and it's the same player again. And it's a similar incident. He goes through the player to get the ball. Now, in the eyes of the law, that's a penalty, or it's a free kick and a foul. My question is, how many of you thought that was actually a penalty?
I thought that was a penalty straight out. I mean, we were obviously we were in the space yesterday talking, and you had everyone saying it was a penalty. Then you had a couple saying, no, it's not a penalty. But when you really look back at it, that's a penalty. If it's a foul outside the box, it should be a foul inside the box.
Yeah, I also thought it was a penalty. I also thought it was a penalty at the time. And for me, if Pellistri gets a shot off, he's going to score a goal. So isn't that denying a goal scoring opportunity? So isn't that a red card as well? If he gives the penalty.
I mean, Paul, what did you
know? Because it wouldn't be a red card because he's made a genuine attempt for the ball. Like, it's gone for the ball, but he's cleaned the player out. I've watched it a couple of times, and it definitely, to me, it looks like a penalty, but what can you say? You know, you could probably slap a United player in the box right now, and you wouldn't be given a penalty against you.
So
probably the United player will probably get a yellow card for diving. To be fair, with the way VAR's going,
I've said it on Spaces before. Remember, I think it was about 18 months ago. Klopp said in a press conference that we get all the decisions, and since then the refs have been really harsh on us. I think it doesn't help the rules, like no one knows the rules, and we're having this debate on my other podcast tomorrow because I've got a ref coming on, and it's just consistency every week. You don't know what's going to happen with VAR because it's just so inconsistent.
Well, Neil, I wanted to hear your opinion in the shakes, and then I'll bring up VAR as you bring this in.
100% penalty. I mean, but how many others have we, not been given? There's some handballs that we haven't been given that got given to other teams. Obviously, not gonna sort of make up a conspiracy or anything, but it all seems very, very
against us.
If your name is Manchester United, we'll turn a blind eye to it and carry on, sort of thing. But
Sheikh, what did you think of it?
the man definitely gets taken first.
Yeah, I
rather
thought so
than,
as well.
than the ball. So for me, I mean, at first glance, watching the game, I didn't think it was a penalty until I saw the replay, and we have the beauty of seeing the replays, right? I have to agree with most of the comments surrounding VAR. I won't VAR. Sorry, I won't divert or go off on a tangent too much, but there is a lot of inconsistencies at the moment where you see the decisions not given for us, but the same decisions are given for other clubs.
No, it's true. I have to agree.
Yeah. So, but yeah, for me, I'd have to say, penalty.
You see, I didn't realise I completely forgot. There is no VAR in Carabao Cup, so it's actually a human error. So that where the referee is, he has to judge it. But where I have a problem, the linesman can see that clear as day, and you can see that the defender is coming. Richards is coming from behind and on behind him, so there's no way he can get the ball first. So it's poor officiating to start with from the linesman. But I get the human error from the referee because the way he's looking from at it, there's no way he can give that as a penalty. But the linesman is directly in the line of it. Penalty all day long. But why we have no VAR in a competition as big as the Carabao Cup, respectfully, I find extremely, extremely weird.
VAR doesn't come in into the later stages because you have teams in the previous stages that their stadiums aren't compatible with VAR. So we were who was the non-league team that we played? What, Keir McKenna's team?
No,
not non-league. Ipswich don't have the ability to have VAR.
Salford.
Yeah, they don't have the ability to play.
Luton didn't till they got promoted.
That was one of the upgrades Luton had to do. They had to put in the ability to have VAR in their stadium. They had to pay for that. So some of these teams don't have it. So until you get to basically the semis, when they go to when they play home and away, VAR's not used.
Yeah, but what if a non-league team, like say for instance, we know Exeter's made it through. What if Exeter makes it through to the semi-final? How are you going to input for one game?
So no. So obviously, when you get to the semis and stuff, then it get played on neutral grounds. Am I correct?
Semis are semis at Wembley.
No, that's FA Cup.
Right. So if it's not there, then it's not there. It's the same. It will be treated the same as when you get further and as advanced into the competition.
Yeah.
If you're playing a lower league team, and a Premier League team is meeting let's say a League One opposition, and they don't have VAR installed, there will be no VAR present for that game.
What they should do is
be one game or both games.
Just the one. If once it gets to the stages of VAR is available, it's used. So if it's available, it's used.
Hear my question and see what you guys think. Say, for instance, Man United are playing Exeter, and Exeter don't have VAR at their stadium. Mm-hmm. Does that mean at Old Trafford we have VAR, or would that VAR be turned off because it's only fair that no VAR for both games? How would
you have it at one game?
You'd have it at
one, yeah.
The stadium that has the VAR, it will be used. That's correct.
Wow, that's generally it's generally I think that's weird. Personally, I think
it's going to take years to get it to all through the Football League as well.
Here's the thing. If it's how much it's used, because you can have VAR in the lower league teams, but that system is only going to be used when you're having matches that require VAR. Remember, there's only there's only one or two VAR rooms in the whole of the country. The VAR room's not in the stadium. The VAR room's in
it's in Uxbridge.
It's in Uxbridge, yeah. So they would have the FA would have to put more money into that thing to host more games. You think about it, they have most days in the Premier League they have about 5 games. How many games? 3 o'clock kickoffs on a Saturday. The Saturday 3 p.m. kickoffs, 4 or 5. So they're using 4 or 5 referees for that. What I was going to say with the VAR decision, do you think the penalty would have been given if it had gone to VAR? Was it that clear looking at the replays? Do you think it would have been given?
Replays on Sky Sports, to be fair. He clears out the man before he gets to the ball. It's a penalty all day long. If that's not given, then it's corruption in its finest.
At least they have a get out clause this time. They don't have VAR.
That's the thing, though. Was it a clear and obvious error? That's the debate, right? At first glance, it didn't look that way. But with the replays ongoing, I would be more inclined to agree that, maybe they've missed a trick here,
Yeah.
Well, it depends what the referee says. If the referee turns around and says, I think it was a clean tackle and they won the ball, and the replay shows that he never touched the ball, then
Yeah.
He does
it's a
touch
clear
the
and
ball.
obvious
but
error.
He touched the
But he
ball,
takes
but
the
he
man
takes
first.
the standing leg first.
He takes time to
Yeah,
get.
he takes the man first. Yeah.
Well, what they should have done was, do you remember a few years ago in the Europa League, they used to have the fifth official behind the goal?
Yes. The fifth
That's what they
official.
should do for these cup
By the
games.
penalty box.
Yes.
Yeah, right
That's
by
what
the
they
goal.
should-
But
Yeah,
wasn't
that's what they
that fifth official wasn't allowed to make any on-field decisions with penalties
No,
and
but
stuff
they
like
can
that?
see it clear and
No, but they
clear.
can see it clear. They can still communicate with the
They
referee.
can communicate the clear error
They
from
were-
looking at it for certain decisions.
Yeah, so
I think they were very restricted. If I remember, that fifth official was very restrictive on what he could
Yeah, but he was
communicate.
behind the goal.
I thought
so
they
he
were for
could
the
see.
goal line, no?
Yeah, that was I don't. That was before.
Goal line technology.
remember.
Goal line
Goal line technology. He couldn't comment. He couldn't comment on anything like to do with the match or anything.
But now
being
remember,
behind the net.
with VAR and the development of technology, it's kind of got rid of that. You don't
Yeah.
need it anymore. So I think we have to look at the technology being used. For instance, FIFA used 5D technology in the World Cup, yet the Premier League, not the Premier League, the PGMOL and IFAB have refused it, which I find really weird personally. So
Because not all stadiums can use it.
pretty much sure when we do a show on Saturday or Sunday on the weekend, we're going to be complaining about VAR again. So let's just
The thing about the 5D technology is, unlike VAR, like with VAR, for most top tier teams, you have the TV cameras in enough areas to cover the VAR. With 5D technology, you need extra cameras in extra positions, and some stadiums cannot put that in. So FIFA and that are not going to operate that on a club level basis, because they'll be like, well, not every club can do this accurately. I think somebody did a report. There's some stadiums that can't actually implement that there because they don't have the angles for the cameras.
Yeah, man.
They've no way to get they've no way to get the camera up top.
Yeah, just have the fifth official, man. Honestly, it'd be so much easier, but they won't do it.
I remember football before VAR and tell me you needed more officials on the pitch.
So, guys, I want to go to a second part of our segment. Obviously, we've run over a little bit on our current segment because, VAR always brings out the best of us, even on spaces. I want to go to our second part segment, which obviously was the news that was announced by several journalists and business pages regarding the Ineos bid being restructured by Sir Jim, and obviously Sheikh Jassim looking to change his bid. Now, I know absolutely nothing about this nonsense. I'm the kind of person, personally, when it happens, I'll cheer on. But I know a lot of you here have really followed this. I know Paul, Neil, Sheikh, I know you have. Jono, you and I have probably read a little bit about it. I know Chase, you're in the same boat as me. We were really enthusiastic at the beginning. Now we're just like, whatever.
Yeah, that's where I am now.
So I really want to go to the mainly to three of you and basically allow you guys to have a conversation around it regarding the news and basically what it means to the rest of us. Paul, I'm going to highlight you, and then Sheikh, obviously yourself, and Neil. It'll be absolutely brilliant to get you guys your takes on this. So my first question to Paul is, what exactly was the news?
Well, I think the biggest part of the news is the fact that report that came out that it is Sunday Daily Mail was completely false about the protests being halted. There has been a few other people reporting that Ineos had a bit of communication with Rain Group and the Glazers. That's obviously now due to the fact that they're looking to restructure their bid. It seems the legal challenges that were talked about that only came about when the talk was Sir Jim wasn't going for the 69%. He was going for a lower percentage and keeping the Glazers on. That's when the minority investors came out. So he's restructuring his bid to appease the minority investors. Now, I think Ben Jacobs did a post about how this really means nothing because, as he said before, Sir Jim's bid is a fluid bid. It is. His bid is a valuation, and what he has said is, if you want me to pay this money per share, I have to have a controlling stake in the company. So he doesn't really have to restructure a lot of his bid when it comes to changing how much of a percentage he's taking. As long as he gets that 51% off the Glazers, has full control over what happens at the club. He doesn't care. That was his initial bid. He's restructuring it now, and we don't know what way it's going to restructure. If he goes down the route of buying minority investors out to appease them in some way, I would expect him to go down the line then of doing a full takeover. Because there's no point of throwing 800 to £1 billion of money at minority investors to appease them. Then also 3 or 4 years down the line buying the Glazers shares, because you've put so much money into the company, you might as well take the whole percentage of the company and take it private, set it up somewhere else. Because I would think if any of them got full 100% of the company, they're going to want to take it off the stock market and put it somewhere else. The New York stock market has so many rules and regulations about reporting and stuff like that you want to get out of the way. There's a reason why Ineos is on the New York Stock Exchange and it's set up in the Isle of Man, because you don't even have to report profits on the Isle of Man. I don't think they'd be able to do that with United, because I'm pretty sure you have to be on company house for the Premier League to accept you as a club. So the news about restructuring the deal, it's interesting, but it means the process is ongoing. And if he's looking to do a massive restructure of a deal, could be a bidding war, because I think any form of a restructure is him looking to buy out the minority investors. So he's going to have to appease them. And if you're going to have to appease them, you're going to have to do it with money. And it's the guy with the biggest checkbook then that wins in that situation. But
okay.
I don't.
Obviously, then the conversation obviously talks about obviously Sir Jim. This obviously conversation then developed further into, for instance, Sheikh Jassim. Obviously, news broke around the same time or within a day or so apart regarding Sheikh Jassim. What was your thoughts around the Sheikh Jassim news?
He may up his bid. It's not very much coincidental that 2 days prior you hear that Sheikh Jassim is willing to up his bid, and then 2 days later you hear that Sir Jim is looking to restructure his bid. It's the same thing. Obviously, the communication lines, if you're getting them type of rumours, they're not covered by NDAs. When bids go in, they're not covered by NDAs. NDAs are usually very specific things. You have to cover you can't just do a blanket NDA over the whole process. You have to specifically put in what people can and cannot talk about. Bids going in is obviously one thing people can talk about. Sheikh Jassim looking to redo his bid is obviously because he's been told it looks like Sir Jim's going to be restructuring his bid. We're going to have to wait to see what happens for that bid to come through before we decide. And Sheikh Jassim has maybe just said, look, I'm willing to up my bid, see what he comes up with. The only thing that this restructuring does is it will delay the process, because I think David Hellier said it a month or so ago, his current bid was dead in the water. So he's obviously spent the last wee while developing a new bid. So we have to see what he comes up with first and what it's involved. But if he starts to go down the line of, I want to buy out the minority investors to keep them happy, he's going to have to pay top dollar for it.
And that's when you'll see, obviously, a jump in the share prices. So we could be looking at $30, $40 a share to buy them out to keep them happy. Sort of.
Oh, more.
You're going up to 50, 60 here?
The last bids were valuing the club at about $5.2 billion for every share of the club. So you're looking anywhere between $35 and $38 a share. If that bid is not accepted, and it looks like they're increasing, once you start to hit the 60 rate, at the £6 billion mark, you're talking $45 a share almost to the Glazers, and maybe 42 to the minority holders.
So you think they're going to go after the minority holders first, and then that will kind of force the Glazers' hand to sell?
No, it's not that they go after the minority holders. It's what he does is the way the deal will go is Sir Jim needs to get a controlling stake. So if he's restructuring his bid, what he will probably, I'm throwing random percentages out, I don't exactly know, but what he could say is, I'm looking to spend the same amount of money at the moment. So instead of buying the 69%, I'm going to buy the 49% off yous. Yous all have to convert your B shares to A shares. Then I'm going to do a public offer then to buy another 20% off the A share market. So he basically goes to the minority holders and goes, I will buy your shares at a fair value price to what I'm paying for the Glazer shares. So within a month or two, he will then have 60 odd, 63. He wants to get over that 63% mark of the company, because there's certain rules about doing emergency motions under Cayman Island laws. You have to have a quorum of shareholders, which is 63%. So if he gets to 63% of all total shares, he can do everything. So you'll see him only buy a very smaller percentage of the Glazers share, then buy the minority shareholders afterwards, so they don't legal challenge saying, look, you've cut us out of the deal. He can turn around and goes, Glazers agree with, yeah, we'll convert all our shares to A shares. We'll let you buy 49% of our shares. And he goes, well, I'm going to bring in the minority investors into this deal now. They then get brought into the selling process, and he goes to them, this is what I'm giving the Glazers. I'm going to give you this shares. Because he can't bring that, he can't talk to them at the moment. He has to wait until the Glazers agree with that plan first and accept that, then talk to the minority investors. So he has to almost include them in. So it'll be going from doing just a deal with the Glazers to doing a deal with the Glazers and a deal with the minority holders. So you're talking the three big ones, because they're the only ones over 5%, which are Lindsay Trade Limited, Aries, and I've totally forgot the third one off the top of my head.
Eminence Capital.
That's it, Eminence Capital. Because they're the ones over 5%. They're the only ones that actually can do a legal challenge, because they're an issued shareholder. They have to submit documents to the SEC to say they're an interested party now because they own a certain percentage. So that deal's inherently going to take a bit of time. If they do go down to Sir Jim route, you're not seeing it this side of Christmas.
Okay, I want to bring Sheikh in. Obviously, I know he's followed this stuff very closely with you. I want to bring Sheikh in to see what his thoughts are on where he sees this going and get his opinion on this one as well. And then we'll bring Neil in as well after. Thank you so much, Paul, for that.
Well.
And then we have a load of questions for all of you.
Yeah.
Sheikh, what did you make of the two sets of news?
For me, noise. If I'm honest, I know, I've been with controversy. I know a lot of people don't agree with what I say, but I think it's noise. Another stalling process, probably trying to get more money. I mean, it makes complete sense. I mean, listening to Paul, I've learned quite a bit there, learning from his take. But with Sir Jim, obviously his initial bid was dead in the water. It was nowhere going to be successful. So for him to keep up, obviously the restructuring the bid, it kind of makes sense if he's looking and he's serious about buying Manchester United. For me, the biggest thing for me is that, obviously it's been very quiet for a long time. And all of a sudden, Bloomberg come out and Helia comes out with this news yesterday, and all of a sudden Twitter's going mental again. So which is good news for me, because it tells me that there is a takeover process still ongoing, which gives me optimism that hopefully we'll all get what we want, and the common goal of getting the Glazers out, hopefully. Excuse me. So yeah, but I'm seeing a lot of things I was seeing yesterday. There's a Sheikh Jassim increase his bid. If he's serious, yeah, 100%. I would say that he would, if he's serious about purchasing the club. But yeah, it was definitely interesting yesterday. Definitely interesting.
Thing about it is he doesn't even need to increase his bid yet. This is just Hellier's whole report was just Sir Jim is looking to restructure his bid. So in
we
the
don't even know what that is yet.
he doesn't know what that is yet. He's looking at the thing. I give one example of what he could do. But inherently, as I said, when you spend that amount of money to buy the minority investors, you might as well buy 100% of the club. That's if he goes down one or two routes. That's if he's just using Ineos at the end of the day. The one thing that people have not taken into account into this whole takeover process is Sir Jim does have another play in his hands, and that is him himself buying a percentage of United separately from Ineos. Ineos can buy the Glazers shares under their loan structures, but nothing stops Sir Jim then buying shares in United personally as well. So you would actually have the ownership of 60% owned by Ineos, 20% owned by Sir Jim personally. He can do it that way and use his own personal wealth, because at the moment he's just using Ineos as the takeover entity. He isn't touching his personal wealth, which there's no idea what his personal wealth is in cash terms.
Sorry, Paul,
it could be
Sorry, mate. My understanding was that initially, where he was going for the initial bid was going to be out of SJR's wealth. But now
Nope.
to restructure his bid and do the full takeover as assumed would be involving Ineos. That was my understanding.
Ineos was the first bidder. It wasn't actually Sir Jim. Ineos as the company was bidding for Manchester United. The entity of Ineos. Ineos is inherently an acquisition vehicle. That is what the whole company has been set up for the last 15 to 20 years. It's been used as an acquisition vehicle. It's how you invest it into the Mercedes team. It's how you invest it into the cycling team. It's how he's invested into Nice. He doesn't actually use his personal wealth. He uses the vast resources of Ineos to create loan payments to acquire big companies and eventually flip a lot of them companies. In the last 10, 15 years, his group, which is him and his two friends, the three founders of Ineos, have gone down the round of, we're going after vanity projects now. The cycling team, vanity project. F1 team, vanity project. Nice, vanity project. So if Ineos are fronting bidding for the Glazers' share and he needs to increase money, he can go to his personal wealth. It's something that's not been discussed yet and something that people seem to be very blind to. The man has about anywhere between £5 and £8 billion in cash assets. He also has then another 15 to 16 billion pounds in
I was about to say, he's valued about 22 billion, was it?
Yeah,
something like that.
22 billion in total assets. That doesn't actually include his Ineos assets because nobody knows what Ineos is worth because Ineos is run through the Isle of Man. And if you're incorporated in the Isle of Man, you do not have to give yearly earning reports. All you have to do is pay your taxes when in the countries you operate. And even if you compiled all them taxes together, you have no idea what the revenue is.
His wealth could be stretching around 100 billion and we wouldn't even know.
The company value of Ineos is about 60 billion from best guess scenarios. So
that's valued at 60 billion.
I've said this to people before when they talk about Sir Jim. Sir Jim has more money than the two previous Chelsea owners, the Arsenal owners, and the Tottenham owners combined. He would be the third richest owner in the league behind the two states. So he does have a lot of funds, and he has he is an M&A expert. So this could drag on quite a while unless Qataris come in. And
very insightful, mate. Very insightful.
I want to bring Neil in. Obviously, I wanted to get Neil's takes on this because I know you've followed the takeover since it started. I know you've been very vocal in Spaces as well as on Twitter. So I just wanted to get your take on it, Neil, and see what your thoughts are on this.
In regards to obviously the recent news that broke, this restructuring bid, I just wanted to ask Paul whether or not that was sort of in response to, because I know we heard that there was an initial, what was Sir Jim's initial offer? He wanted to, keep the Glazers on, and then is this just a counter offer to what they said initially? That's why he's restructuring.
No, the restructure, from all intents and purposes, because of how his bid was originally set up, his bid was, this is my evaluation of your company.
Yeah.
I want a controlling stake. Glazers, you decide what the controlling stake is. That was his bid. Very fluid bid. So there's nothing on that part to restructure. If he's restructuring his bid, it's most likely to do with the legal challenge that's come in. He has to restructure that bid to include some sort of a minority presence.
So would it be for any reason that, let's just say, for example, the Glazers turned around and said to Sir Jim and to Ineos that, we still want voting rights or something? No.
I've seen this tweet come up where somebody was said that the delay in it is because the Glazers are demanding voting rights.
Yeah.
They're shareholder. They have voting rights as a shareholder. You can pit them on the board. It doesn't matter what they do on the board, because if I own 51% of the company and you own 19% of the company, I'm going to outvote you and everybody else in the company every single time. So that whole voting rights thing was the sticking point. You could maybe argue he didn't want to do it because of a PR reason. But yet again, if you're giving them voting rights and they're out in 3 years, they're going to be, outvoted every single time anyway. So it made no sense to me whatsoever.
If they got a small amount of voting rights, they would never have a say.
Well, they have voting rights anyway. If they still kept 20% of the company, they would have shareholder voting rights at M&As. What they were saying is, we want to be on the board to hear what's being discussed. And generally, if somebody owns 20 to 25% of your company, they're going to have a position on your board. You do not cut out somebody that owns a quarter of your company and say you do not get a board position. That's ridiculous. You do, in certain instances, somebody going, I'm investing 25% of your company. I don't want a board position. That happens. But if somebody that has 25% of your company is, and you're all equal shares, remember, there's no B shares in this scenario, and they're going, I want a board position, they generally get it because they own a quarter of that business. You are a fifth. You generally get a position on the board, but that board position has very little power.
Paul, I want to thank you for that. That was really insightful because we've obviously been speaking about it for a while now. And it's nice. Obviously, until the takeover's done, Paul will be heading off all our takeover stuff. So, guys tuning in, you'll hear Paul all the time, constantly on YouTube with this, and we'll be doing more shows around this with Paul. Obviously, we're going to be touching upon the ownership. For those who don't know why. The question has been asked about the Glazers Out movement, why we aren't supporting it. We're actually working on creating a documentary right now for the Glazers Out movement, and it will be aired during the international break. So stay tuned for that. That is coming. We're not obviously against the Glazers Out movement. We're not for it either. We are going to be partial. We want to basically give you the right information and make sure it's out there. I actually said that wrong. I meant to say we are for the Glazers Out movement. I said it wrong.
I was about to say there, Judy.
Wrong. So, yeah, I said it completely wrong. I do apologize. We are for the Glazers Out movement, so I do apologize. My wording just came out wrong there. But what we are doing, the reason why we've not pushed too much is the fact that we're looking to make that documentary, get it out, and get everyone involved in it. So, I want to basically wrap up. Today, I will not be closing off the show. It will actually go to our main guy who basically does everything on this show, from the graphic works to basically organizing the StreamYard. I will leave you with Jonathan Gamble, and he will close off the show. So, guys, for everything that you see, the graphics, all the video work, everything is done by Jonathan, by Jono. You guys know as Jono on Jono TV on Twitter. He's absolutely amazing. So Jono will be closing off the show today for us. So Jono, thank you for everything you do for us.
It's all right. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been a great show. Really, really good intake by Paul as well. I really enjoyed listening to that. And I'm looking forward to the documentary on the takeover, and that'll be really a good episode. I just want to thank everyone who's coming on and the support for the channel so far. Also, the links will be in the description. Make sure you jump in our Discord. We want to start interaction with the Discord, Twitter. If there's any other content you want from us, drop us a message. I've been doing this for a few years, so I'm getting quite good at my content. So, and any feedback on my graphics as well, let me know. I've been working hard on them at the moment, so I think I'm getting quite good. But I always like some feedback on that. So,
Jono, before you go, I want to add one more thing, guys. This has not been possible without everyone on the spaces on Twitter and making this happen. I want to put a personal shout out for Neil, Paul, Chase, Masood, Sheikh, FaZe. Who am I forgetting? Devin, Greg. All these guys are basically content creators on the Magazine 24/7. Matt, I forgot Matt, Benny as well. These guys are doing an absolutely fantastic job. If you find them on Twitter, follow them, retweet their stuff, interact.
Xander.
The spaces. Oh, I forgot Xander, our favorite one of them all. Xander, he's been absolutely brilliant. So, guys, please, we're going to be running a space tomorrow, recorded space tomorrow night. We'll let you know the topic in the morning when we set it up for the scheduling, and we shall go from there. I will leave you with Jono to close off the show, but thank you, guys.
Yeah, guys, as I say, make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, turn that bell so you never miss an upload, and let us know what other content you want. This has been Magnificent 24/7, and good night.
You find me loser, set me free. You make me win every way. You show